Today's is a very important meeting joined between Finance Minister as well as Agriculture Minister, because we also see in the past presidency as well as this year presidency of the G20 under Indonesia, the risk to food security and nutrition worldwide have increased. This is especially because of the unprecedented COVID-19 pandemic, but also combined with the extreme weather event and also unstable macroeconomic condition, which is creating a very real threat for many countries. The significant challenges to food security and nutrition have been further exacerbated by the current geopolitical situation, international trade restriction, as well as rare and high price of fertilizer. This threatens political stability and economic stability in many parts of the world, not to mention that humanitarian tragedy from the hunger. To deal with some of those challenges, there have been several global initiatives to address food insecurity issues initiated both by regional as well as international forums or organizations, and even by individual countries. For example, like in Indonesia, we also have a step being taken in order for us to be able to have food security. Some of these initiatives, for example, like the UN Global Crisis Response Group, GCG, in which President Jokowi also one of the chair, the G7 Global Alliance for Food Security or GAFS, and Global Agriculture and Food Security Program or GAFSP. We also see the International Finance Institution Action Plan and the Global Development Initiative. World Bank, in this case, has already committed to make 30 billion available in the new and existing funding for projects linked to food as well as nutrition security over the next year, while FAO has provided timely update on global food market condition, including through the G20 agricultural market information system. For this G20 finance minister as well as central bank governor, we are all reaffirm our commitment to use all appropriate policy tools to address current economic and financial challenges, including the risk of food insecurity. The G20 stand ready to take prompt collective action on food security and nutrition, including by working with other initiatives. Last July 2022, the G20 finance minister and central bank governor discussed the critical issues of food insecurity, both in the high-level seminar strengthening global collaboration for tackling food insecurity, and also in the third G20 finance minister and central bank governor meeting, where the member acknowledged that there is a growing food insecurity and the need for global collaboration to tackle it. Last week, the G20 finance and agriculture deputies met, and we discussed the policy responses to address the global food insecurity. As a result, G20 should initiate a mapping exercise, which is supported by almost all the attendants this morning, and to identify ongoing global policy responses to food insecurity and potential gaps to ensure that there is no duplication with the existing efforts, and also to make sure that this initiative will add value to critically but crowded space of this issue. On today's joint meeting between the Finance and Agriculture Minister under the G20 Indonesia Presidency, we provide the foundation for the necessary future coordination to determine how best to address the food insecurity challenges that we are facing today. In the meeting this morning, we discussed and reaffirmed our commitment to use all available policy tools to address the risk of food insecurity and cost of living pressures experienced by many countries. We support the need for increased cooperation to ensure coordinated global response to tackling food insecurity, and we also commit to working with other multilateral initiatives in this endeavor. We agree to ask international organizations such as FAO and the World Bank to do a mapping exercise of the global policy responses to food insecurity with input from technical experts and other relevant international organizations. This mapping exercise will identify ongoing global policy responses to food insecurity, including by analyzing existing initiatives, identifying any immediate major gap, and examining the supply and demand of fertilizer. We are building on the G20 Agricultural Market Information System, or AMIS, and also identifying any medium-term issue that require further technical and systematic analysis. The forum on the G20 this morning also asked FAO and World Bank to report back on the result of this mapping exercise by 2023 spring meeting. We will continue closely monitor the state of global food security in our future meeting, and we will build momentum on G20 effort to address food security ahead of the G20 Leader Summit. We stand ready to act promptly and taking any further action that may be required. We will carry forward the initiative on tackling the global food security issue under the 2023 G20 Indian presidency. So that is the result that we are trying to mobilize within the G20 to address the issue which is critically important for all countries, that is food security. I will over to...
Thank you, Minister. Minister Limpo, the floor is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dalam pertemuan bersama para Menteri Keuangan dan Menteri Pertanian atau Joint Finance and Agricultural Minister Meeting G20 ini diselenggarakan merespon ancaman kerawanan pangan dan gizi global akibat fenomena iklim, pandemi COVID-19, dan meningkatnya ketegangan geopolitik. Dalam pertemuan yang telah kita lewati, baik yang ada di Indonesia maupun di Washington ini, semua negara menjemaskan hadirnya krisis pangan yang sangat-sangat perlu direspon lebih serius menghadapi tahun-tahun yang akan datang. Oleh karena itu, pertemuan joint meeting antara Pertanian dan Keuangan ini menjadi sangat strategis, penting, dan ditunggu respon balik yang lebih efektif di masa yang akan datang. Pandemi COVID-19 berdampak pada pembatasan pergerakan barang dan jasa tingkat lokal, regional, maupun global. Jalur logistik dan sistem distribusi pangan juga sangat terdampak serius, yang menyebabkan salah satu adalah harga pangan di mana saja bergerak tak terkendali atau naik dengan signifikan. Di sisi lain ada harga pupuk secara signifikan menjadi masalah secara global yang dialami oleh seluruh dunia. Kejadian ini akan berdampak pada pembiayaan produksi yang pasti meningkat atau kos produksi yang pasti akan berpengaruh. Sementara itu beberapa negara menerapkan kebijakan proteksi melalui stok nasional. Jadi stok nasional terproteksi di beberapa negara, akibatnya akan mengganggu ketidakseimbangan sistem pangan global yang selama ini berlangsung cukup baik. Pada tingkat nasional, hal ini telah menyebabkan peningkatan risiko pada akses pangan dan nutrisi, terutama bagi penduduk miskin di desa dan daerah perkotaan tertentu. Pada tingkat global, hal ini juga memperparah kondisi kerawanan pangan dan gizi di negara berkembang dan negara-negara yang terkebelakang. Situasi ini menjadi semakin kompleks hubungan dengan tantangan akibat perubahan iklim, climate change, menurunnya degradasi sumber daya alam, dan ancaman penyakit menular antar negara yang juga dirasakan hadir. Sebagai salah satu bagian dari komunitas global dan penanganan tantangan ini, G20 berkomitmen mendukung peran krusial dan dari sektor pertanian dalam menyediakan pangan dan gizi penting bagi semua orang, menjamin pembangunan ekonomi yang inklusif dan berkelanjutan tanpa membiarkan satu orang pun tertinggal di belakangnya, leaving no one behind. Dalam rangka mempercepat pemulihan dari pandemik dan membangun sektor pertanian yang lebih kuat dan tangguh, kelompok kerja pertanian AWG G20 berkomitmen untuk memastikan ketahanan pangan dan gizi bagi semua melalui keseimbangan jaminan produksi pangan dan pertanian nasional serta jaminan keandalan, kepastian, dan keadilan perdagangan pangan dan pertanian lintas batas negara atau balancing production and trade to fulfill for. Pertemuan JFAMM G20 menghasilkan komitmen para Menteri Keuangan dan Menteri Pertanian G20 untuk menghadirkan solusi bersama dalam bentuk skema perdagangan pendanaan global untuk penanganan 3 isu prioritas sektor pertanian dan pangan yang meliputi yang pertama, mempromosikan sistem pertanian dan pangan yang tangguh dan berkelanjutan. Yang kedua, mempromosikan perdagangan pertanian terbuka, adil, dapat diprediksi, transparan, dan non-diskriminatif untuk memastikan ketersediaan dan keterjangkauan pangan bagi semua. Yang ketiga, mempromosikan kewirausahaan pertanian inovatif melalui pertanian digital untuk meningkatkan penghidupan petani di pedesaan. Ketiga isu prioritas tersebut saling berkait satu dengan yang lain dan saat ini menjadi perhatian utama bagi negara di dunia guna mewujudkan tujuan pembangunan berkelanjutan. Menghadapi dampak pandemi COVID-19 yang belum berakhir, climate change, dan tensi geopolitik terhadap krisis pangan global, perlu strategi yang tepat antara lain meningkatkan kapasitas produksi utama komoditas pangan yang berdampak pada inflasi, menurunkan importasi atau substitusi importasi bagi negara-negara tentu harus ditingkatkan. Yang ketiga, meningkatkan perdagangan global atau ekspor. Pangan adalah human right. Oleh karena itu tidak boleh ada barrier antar negara dalam menjamin ketersediaan, distribusi, akses, dan keterjangkauan pangan bagi semua. Untuk itu penanganannya harus dilakukan secara bersama. Yang terakhir, menghadapi krisis pangan global dan kondisi krisis multidimensi ke depan adalah dengan kebersamaan, kolaborasi, adaptasi, penerapan teknologi, dan melakukan network antar negara. Terima kasih. Sekian.
Thank you, Minister. We will open the question and answer. I will open the question from the floor first. Please raise your hand if you want to ask a question. Lady and person, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Andrea Shalal with Reuters. I wanted to ask if you could talk a little bit about the atmospherics in this room, given what we saw in the spring meetings when Western officials walked out of G20 meetings, when Russian officials spoke. Can you explain how that went in the room and what you're seeing in terms of the Russians specifically participating and agreeing to some of the measures that you've mentioned?
Thank you. The next question. So we're just going to collect question first. No, we're just going to collect question first. Go ahead.
Sure. Shabtai Gold with DevX. I was just wondering if you can explain a little bit more what you mean by this cooperation and collaboration on food security. This crisis has been brewing for some months. There's been a lot of talk about global cooperation. Practically, what steps are you seeing and what is going to happen going into our meetings? Thank you.
Thank you. I will open one question from the WebEx. Fadil from Jakarta Post, go ahead. Fadil, can you hear us? I don't think we can hear you. I think I can read.
Do you hear me?
Oh yeah, good. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So my first question would be, so what are actually the concrete outputs of benefits of these particular meetings towards the G20 members and to the global community, and how actually this particular meeting actually address the possible crisis of food insecurity in the near future. So that's my first question. And my first question would be, so actually the WTO has said that there has been an increasing trade restrictions in these recent times, and then how does this particular meeting actually address the issue of the increasing trade restrictions on food and fertilizer that was imposed by member states? And last but not least is that excuse
Okay,
me, sir?
good. We got two questions from you. So thank you. We just collected three questions. I would like to give the first opportunity to Minister Sri Mulyani to address.
Thank you. For this particular discussion, of course, we are focusing on the food security as well as related to nutrition as well as fertilizer. What is the atmospheric situation? I think this is has been quite some time for the G20 now discussing, and just like the finance and health minister meeting, finance and agriculture meeting, we are really focused on the issue related to the food crisis. The statement being made by all the members in this case, whether this is related to the war in Ukraine, I think the same statement that many country is already also expressing their, of course, position regarding the war. On the other hand, the Russia is actually stating regarding that the food problem is actually beginning just even before the war is actually began. So there is still quite a wide gap. But despite that, I think we all agree that the food crisis need to be addressed, and that is really what is usually what we are expecting from this meeting, that after the discussion regarding what is causing this problem, now focus in terms of how you are going to respond that. And on that, how we are going to respond, as I mentioned earlier, first that the collaboration and the coordination which you are asking, first is of course recognizing that with this kind of issue, especially related to food, countries, regional cooperation, or even global initiative is already being also initiated in addressing this issue. So we are not pretending that there is nothing happen, there is no response at all. So we recognize that this is already being handled or at least responded, whether at the country level or regional level or international level. We also, in this case, urging and even asking in this case of AO and World Bank now to map the whole policy responses globally. Because when everybody like doing it without any collaboration and the same data and dashboard, it could be overlap, or it could be also an area which is critically important as not being addressed. So by having FAO and the World Bank to map and also exercising what is the policy response for each country, regional as well as global, then we are going to be able to then identify where the area that still need to have more focus. For example, like on the short run, World Food Program is showing that the demand for humanitarian support is really doubling, more than doubling, and where this is going to be solved, how we are going to solve this. While we are talking about the medium term area, for example, sustainable food and agriculture, this is going to be also one of the most important. Minister of Agriculture can explain later on. For example, like using the digital technology, we are talking about how to address the issue of climate change within this food, and how we are going to develop to a seed that is going to be more resilient with the climate change. Those are all is going to be like medium term discussion. There is also a growing almost synchronized concern related to the fertilizer, especially whether this is from the World Bank, ADB, FAO, and other, and as well as from countries, that the fertilizer problem today will have the impact on the food availability and even food crisis in the next 8 to 12 months. So we are heading in 2023, which is going to be much more highly risky for this food problem. So with that kind of initiative, collaboration after we are able to identify and mapping the exercise, then we are going to be able to address the issue, what is the immediate major gaps. As I mentioned earlier, the timeline is going to be spring meeting next year, 2023, meaning that this is going to be in India G20 presidency, which is going to take over, and the mapping of what is the global response, as well as initiative which is being taken at the country level, regional level, and global level. Then we can identify what is the major gap and how we are going to be able to address both on the supply side, demand side, as well as on the distribution side. We are also going to discuss about the fertilizer. I think this is going to be a very important one. And this is not building from scratch. As you know, that the G20 Agriculture Market Information System has been established. So this is going to be able to build based on that. So we are going to really organizing it. The G20 usually have the strength and the power to really convening and also asking both country, multilateral institution or international organization, as well as regional initiative. This is going to be one of very more organized, systemic, and hopefully it's going to be a full, complete mapping of all the initiative. We also discussed regarding what can be done in the immediate future. This is especially related to how we are going to be able to timely respond it. The country which is really need to have especially imported food while their balance of payment as well as their fiscal position is not really available. So is there anything, for example, related to the debt service relief that can be provided within the context of the common framework, which is already being discussed within the finance and central bank governors meeting? We also can provide support directly to the household and where the resources should be coming from. A good discussion or at least expression from the experience coming from many different countries regarding how they protect the vulnerable household, which is, I think, is very, very important. We also, in this case, collecting all the initiative which is being announced. Like, for example, the World Bank saying that they have 30 billion initiative dealing with this food crisis. We also see since last year during the Roma leaders with the commitment on the G20 to provide 100 billion of budgetary support so that that can be then access to the country which is facing with this kind of both financial and food crisis. And also the contribution in kind for the World Food Program. We are also discussing the IMF, which is stating that they have a new initiative which is dealing with the food shock, including in this case using the SDR reallocation. IFAD in this case mentioning about the potential of having the initiative on a financial arrangement, especially at the village level. This is going to be very critical, especially in supporting many micro and small medium enterprises in improving their capacity. So there are so many initiatives which is going to be mapped, and it's good for us to be able to identify which area that still need to be addressed. And this is going to be one of the area which is very important in providing value added without overlapping or in this case creating a mechanism which is already in place. That's for the first and the second question. The third question is, well, the concrete output is, as I mentioned earlier, and how to address, well, Menteri Pertanian is going to address this. On the WTO increased trade restriction, I think this is being expressed not only by the WTO, but also some country is actually saying that we need to restrain ourselves for using this kind of trade restriction because the result at the aggregate global level is going to be better. But at the same time, we also note that when you are dealing with the food crisis, usually the tension from domestic population is going to be very, very high. So how we are going to be able to lessen this trade-off and lessen this kind of tension so that at the end, globally, the result is not going to be worse off. So
thank you, Minister. Minister Limpo, if you would like to address the about the concrete deliverables, floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, Saya cuma menambahkan apa yang sudah disampaikan Menteri Keuangan. Yang pertama dari berbagai pertemuan, terutama 2 pertemuan terakhir yang ada, baik di Bali dengan seluruh Menteri Pertanian maupun pertemuan antara Menteri Keuangan G20 dan Menteri Pertanian hari ini, ada kesamaan keprihatinan kita menghadapi krisis pangan global. Jadi semua negara merasa ini menjadi sesuatu yang membutuhkan perhatian serius. Dan salah satu yang menjadi orientasi ke depan itu adalah hadirnya mitigasi, adaptasi terhadap tantangan baru yang ada, terutama climate change, dampak COVID maupun ketegangan-ketegangan geopolitik yang ada yang berakibat pada pupuk yang hilang, langka, dan lain-lain sebagainya, distorsi pada perdagangan internasional. Kesamaan pemahaman dan keprihatinan itu mendapat 3 hal yang menurut saya menjadi bagian-bagian. Yang pertama, produktivitas masing-masing negara harus ditingkatkan. Dan ini membutuhkan kolaborasi dan kerjasama, termasuk diantaranya mengantisipasi hadirnya berbagai terapan teknologi, mekanisasi, dan berbagai varietas-varietas baru menghadapi tantangan yang ada. Itu yang pertama. Yang kedua, terima kasih kepada Menteri Keuangan yang telah berkomitmen untuk memberikan support budgeter, baik dari kementerian masing-masing negara maupun internasional organisasi yang ada menangani pertanian, dan ini menjadi sangat penting untuk memberikan sebuah kekuatan, menghadirkan kekuatan pangan untuk menghadapi krisis pangan itu. Yang ketiga adalah perdagangan internasional yang terganggu, baik karena COVID maupun dengan berbagai proteksi-proteksi dari kepentingan nasional masing-masing. Ini harus dijaga dan ini menjadi komitmen yang hadir bahwa internasional perdagangan harus terjaga dengan baik. Tidak boleh ada negara yang menutup atas kepentingan negaranya kemudian berakibat pada ekosistem perdagangan global yang ada. Bapak dan hadirin sekalian yang sama saya hormati, saya kira itu yang menjadi penting, dan kita kalau di Kementerian Pertanian G20 sepakat Ibu Menteri Keuangan memperjuangkan sistem pertanian pangan yang tangguh dan berkelanjutan. Saya kira ini harus menjadi bagian dari promosi kita, bahwa ini dibutuhkan teknologi, pergantian ekspor, dukungan berbagai varietas yang sesuai. Karena hampir kalau panas dia langsung membakar, kalau dia air langsung banjir dan lain-lain sebagainya, itu terjadi pada negara-negara tertentu. Dan kedua, mempromosikan perdagangan pertanian yang terbuka, adil, dapat diprediksi. Ini yang paling penting, kita dapat perkirakan, transparansi dan non-diskriminatif untuk memastikan keterjangkauan pangan bagi semua. Jadi ini menjadi penting. Bahkan intervensi pada negara-negara yang memang terjadi masalah yang serius harus bisa dibuka pada pertemuan-pertemuan berikutnya. Kami sependapat dengan Menteri Keuangan bahwa breakdown ini harus kita lanjutkan pada pertemuan berikutnya dengan Menteri-Menteri Pertanian sedunia untuk menghadirkan langkah-langkah yang lebih konkret lagi, terutama pada beberapa negara yang memang sudah membutuhkan perhatian yang lebih serius lagi. Yang ketiga, mempromosikan kewirausahaan pertanian inovatif melalui digital sistem yang ada di pedesaan. Kita tahu desa paling berdampak kalau memang terjadi proteksi atau terhadap barrier-barrier yang terjadi. Oleh karena itu digital system akan menjadi bagian-bagian dari kelanjutan. Saya kira dari saya itu tambahan, dan kami di Indonesia sudah siap untuk mengintervensi 3 hal. Yang pertama, memperkuat pengaruh ketahanan pangan terhadap inflasi nasional. Kita berusaha untuk mempersiapkan cadangan-cadangan input pada inflasi yang ada, karena kontribusi inflasi pangan sangat besar. Pangan terhadap inflasi sangat besar. Yang kedua, ketergantungan importasi harus ada substitusi. Dipersiapkan pangan yang lain yang kemungkinan bisa dibuat sendiri dalam kebijakan nasional. Bapak Presiden mendorong, Pak Joko Widodo mendorong hadirnya hal-hal seperti itu, sehingga kita tidak boleh terberer hanya dengan kondisi-kondisi global yang belum pulih dengan baik atau terjadi diskresi atau barrier-barrier yang ada. Yang ketiga adalah memang ekspor dan bantuan kepada negara lain juga harus dibuka dari Indonesia. Seperti saya kira itu tambahan saya. Mohon dikoreksi kalau dibutuhkan Bapak Ibu Menteri. Saya kira terima kasih.
Thank you very much, Minister Sri Mulyani and Mr. Limpo, for all of the answers. Ladies and gentlemen, it is truly encouraging to see how in the midst of the global uncertainties, high and volatile food and energy prices, multilateralism can still have room and potentially present more of these concrete deliverables. Hope for better and stronger collaboration between countries and international organizations. Ladies and gentlemen, especially those of you who are already typed your questions online, unfortunately, I apologize that we cannot really read all of them, but hopefully all of the answers that provided by the ministers already answer all of your questions. Lastly, thank you very much for everybody who are attending. See you next time. Thank you.